Hi, guys, welcome back. So, today we have another episode that is in a different format. We hope that you liked the last episode and that you found it informative. Um, Even though people's Instagram feeds are going back to normal, we didn't want to stop with the conversation supporting Black Lives Matter, and we think that we have to keep an open discussion and keep talking about it because some work, a tiny, tiny bit of work has been done, and there is so much more to do. So, we're really excited to jump into another episode with you guys and just be open and honest and tackle these problems in our society.
Yes, yep. Like you said, keep the conversation open. And even when the news may not be talking about it, you can still talk about it with your family, with your friends. Constant communication, honest communication is key.
Very much so. So before we get started, I just want to reference that above our screens, there will be a list of things that you can do to actively help the Black Lives Matter movement. Check those out. Do everything you can in your power to everyday fight racism and make this country a better place for people of color.
Yep. So today we kind of wanted to talk about the movement, but with kind of a lighter note. And in that, we mean talk about it from the celebrities' perspective in terms of what we've been reading and hearing a lot about in terms of celebrities that are doing great things for this movement and those that are doing not so great things, and how cancel culture has come back in this movement in a way with celebrities. And just kind of give our take on what we're thinking about what some of these people have done, because to me there's like a spectrum. Like there have been some very bad things brought up from some of these celebs past, and there's been some things present that have come to light through their actions on social media and the things that they have said. And I knew this was going to happen, like with movements like this, like people's true colors come out.
Right.
And like sometimes it's like you don't know if silence is better than speaking, but like we established in this case, we do nothing but speak because that's all we can do on a basic level, and staying silent isn't an option anymore. But speaking is really biting some people in their behind.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to talk about some of the good things first, because there have been some great positive actions that some of these celebrities have taken. I wanted to start with someone that I brought up last week, and that is actress and TV host Amanda Seales. She's, I think, in her like mid 30s, African American. She's actually, her mother is from the Caribbean. I forget where specifically, but she is most known for being on the show Insecure with Issa Rae, and she recently was on the talk show The Real with co-hosts like Adrienne Bailon, Tamara Mowry, Lonnie Love, and Jeannie Mai. Those are her co-hosts. And Amanda was like the latest addition to the show. She just was on for about 6 months before she actually resigned during quarantine. It was like a whole big thing. But she has been so outspoken about everything going on with this movement. But the thing is with her, she lays things out so clearly on her Instagram. Like she does a lot of stories where she'll talk about things, like just her going on rants and stuff. But her rants are so eloquent, and she hits so many points, and she's so passionate, and she speaks to everyone and everything. And I just love the way she talks. And so I would highly suggest going to her Instagram. She has a podcast called Small Doses that's really good, that she talks about a lot of different things with a lot of different cool guests. But I just love her storytelling, her passion, her what drives her is just so good. And I think her leaving The Real has actually kind of blessed her in a way, because personally for me, she's so passionate about what she talks about. She kind of wasn't a good fit for that show anyway, because she was just like, you could kind of tell the topics that they talk about on The Real are kind of always like more positive and like light, and she really wants to talk about serious issues. And
Right.
so just she's more like, I could see her on The View, or maybe even like a correspondent on CNN or MSNBC, something like that, just something more intense. So
Right.
I think it was a good move for her. But they just announced that she is hosting the BET Awards this year. Pause. I'm just trying to get the date, because they're doing them virtually. BET Awards. They just announced that she is hosting the BET Awards. It's going to be virtual, of course, but on Sunday, June 28th, Amanda will be hosting the BET Awards, which is like a huge thing. And I think it's just kind of like a result of all the work she's been doing for the Black community. And I'm just happy for her. I'm excited to see how that goes. And yeah, I mean, I guess I just wanted to highlight her because she's been having this conversation long before a lot of us were. And I think beyond like just one big thing she's done, she's just always been working for the advancement and evolution of Black people. And for that, I appreciate her. And I know a lot of people do. So, yeah.
For sure. So another person I have been seeing, or who's just been popping up on my Instagram that I've found has been doing a lot of good, is Selena Gomez. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but especially now that a lot of feeds are going back to normal, I've just found it so every single day since June 5th, she has featured a different Black person, whether they be an activist, a writer, a professor. They take over her Instagram and they share information about what it's like to be Black in America, about what you can do, about their perspectives. And it's been really inspiring to see. And I mean, she has 180 million followers on Instagram, which is insane. That's an insane reach. And I think it really has, gotten to people, and watching it and reading it. And it's been really inspiring. Somebody that she's been compared to, or who rather has been compared to her, is Kylie Jenner, who also has the same number of followers and hasn't really been doing anything. I just thought I'd throw that out there really quickly. But we all knew that the Kardashians were problematic anyways. But yeah, it's just been like, I think especially now that you're starting to see people post normal pictures again, enjoying their summer breaks, whatever, and then you see, a post that's really inspirational every single day, multiple posts, a takeover from somebody who has a lesser audience than her, who deserves as big of an audience as she does, and who can help spread facts and knowledge.
That's awesome. And like you said, her reach is so crazy. I'm pretty sure she's one of the most followed people on Instagram.
Yeah, I think so.
That's really cool. And I feel like that's an approach that not a lot of people are taking, of having someone actually take over her Instagram. So it's not even coming from her voice, but she's literally giving people the platform that she has.
Right.
Giving it to, I love that. Yes, Selena. Yes. And she, she's been one, she takes a lot of like social media breaks and stuff. So it's like when she does speak, we're all like, "Ooh, what does she have to say?"
Right.
So that's awesome. That's really cool. And also, like, it's not necessarily like a thing to praise, but I think it's so great, is that a lot of celebrities that you may not expect have been out protesting in the streets with everyday citizens.
Yeah.
People like Halsey, people like Ariana Grande,
J-Lo and her husband.
Yes, Michael B. Jordan has been out there. I know he's looking for me. He's in LA, so he's got to come protest in Baltimore, but he's out there.
He's coming.
He's coming. He's just going to walk his way across the country. We're in quarantine. He's got time. He can get here. So that's awesome. Like, just it's a very physical way to show your support, obviously. And like we said before, and it still holds true, there are thousands of ways to participate. And we are in the middle of a pandemic, so no, I totally understand if you're not trying to go outside right now, and be this close to other people, thousands of people. But yeah, that was just surprising to me, especially someone like Ariana and Halsey in particular. The fact that they are out there is great. Yeah.
Halsey, isn't she biracial?
I think Halsey actually, yeah, I think she actually is Black. Like,
yeah, I think she is Black.
Yeah, yep.
There was a lot of pictures going around of her specifically helping people who had been hit with rubber bullets, like nursing people. And I think the most interesting part of seeing all these celebs out and the pictures that are surfacing is that like they do blend in. And at the end of the day, like, yes, they are in positions of privilege, but even if you're Black and a celebrity, like if you're just out, I don't know, if you decide to go to like the gas station without your bodyguards, or what are they? Yeah, bodyguards,
Yeah.
right? That's the word.
Mhm.
And you are a Black man, you are Michael B. Jordan going out by yourself. You are still subject to racial profiling and the systemic oppression that lives in this country. So I think it's just been really powerful to people to see celebrities come out in solidarity and not just write Instagram posts, but actually go out, the ones who are able to and who feel comfortable doing it.
Yep, true that. And speaking of another type of way to be involved in terms of donations and financially, Michael Jordan, who we know has plenty of money, he and his Jordan brand, so the company itself, they are donating $100 million in support of Black Lives Matter.
Wow.
The money's going to be dispersed over the next 10 years, but it's going to go to various organizations that are fighting for racial justice, and that is huge. That's just amazing.
That's so much money. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's so much money, and I think that's really cool. And big companies like that are taking that kind of stand is really cool. And obviously, he's a Black man, and of course, he's going to feel personal about this cause. But that's a lot of money, and that's going to do nothing but good. So we applaud him for that.
For sure.
But the petty part of us we can't just talk about the good things. We got to get a little negative because we got to call people out. I'm telling you, 2020, this is the year. We're calling everybody out, okay?
Everyone's getting called out, left, right, center,
Right,
everywhere.
everywhere. And
Up, down, all around.
yeah, I feel like that's a song, but yeah. And we've talked about cancel culture before, but it is back and in full effect with this movement, as it should be.
Right.
Because there are people out here, these celebrities do not know what they are doing and what they are saying. It's like they forget they have a platform. So we got stuff to talk about, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard some of these stories and these scandals and these idiotic comments, but we're talking about them because, it's hard to even put into words the frustration, the anger that
It's
I guess.
like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's like, I feel like especially with white celebrities, like you already are living with white privilege, but being a white celebrity, it's like your privilege is incomparable. So many of these people are so ignorant and have been living in their little ignorant bubble, and I'm glad that somebody's finally bursting them and saying you can't do this, you can't say this, and you need to get with the times, use your platform for good, and if you say ignorant shit, we're gonna call you out because you have such a big voice and you can reach so many people, and you need to lead by example.
Exactly. And I'm so tired of those fake ass apologies that are like, I've grown from this, or like, I was a different person then. Bitch, this was 2 months ago, okay? This was last week.
The screenshot notes apologies on Instagram, we've had enough. We've had enough of those.
I know I just graduated with my communication degree, concentration in public relations, like 2 seconds ago. But I know these PR people out here with their like crisis communication lists of like, copy and paste apologies that they just send to their clients, aka the stupid ass celebrities, because everybody's out here like, I'm taking the time to sit back, listen, and learn. Like, that's what you should have been doing before.
Right.
Then you wouldn't be in this predicament. Ugh, it's just everything is coming off so disingenuous, and I know maybe some people are genuinely apologizing, but it's like I feel like people's like our fuses are too short, and like it's hard to believe with these apologies nowadays, And I
For
guess
sure.
the biggest thing for me that bothers me the most, and that I think has definitely been exacerbated because of the Trump campaign, because of Trump's administration, is the comfortableness and is comfortableness a word?
I don't know. We can make it one. The
Okay.
comfort.
The comfort level of people to say such divisive and controversial statements like publicly with these big platforms, like without regard for what the consequences could be. Like,
Right.
to me, it's just the confidence to say it in the first place, whether or not you knew that it was bad. It's like, you should have more care for what you say, especially in 2020. Like, cancel culture is real, so like, be careful with what you say. If you think it could be controversial, don't say it. And it's like, people aren't thinking.
I have a question about that though. Do you think that it's better that people are saying how they truly feel? Because I definitely think that when Trump became president, there was a shift in how people spoke, and now people don't really care anymore. So, do you think it's better that people are not being politically correct or whatever, if you will, anymore? That they're saying what they think, that they're being blatantly offensive, and that that that's the way they think now, and that people can cancel them, or they can have repercussions because of it? Or do you think that it's better that they just don't say anything? Because obviously I don't want people saying offensive shit, but at the same time it's like I don't want to support somebody who's racist, you know?
Well, again, our official correspondent Opal is back to discuss, but as you know, as a person of color, she really has a lot to say. But personally, you know how like you hear people say, I wish I could read people's minds, or like it would be cool to read people's mind. Being honest and open like that is the closest we're going to get to that. So that's a hard question that you ask, because part of me is like, yes, at least people are being honest and we see how people truly feel and are, so that we can make our own personal decisions about how to move forward with that person or not.
Right.
So that's a tough question. I guess at the end of the day, I would rather people say what they mean, because then it's like, well, we know how you are and who you are.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so yes, I think I'm glad people are being honest, because
But it's disappointing to see what their honest self. Not just disappointing, it's infuriating.
yes. So let's get into some of these recent
Okay.
things.
Lea Michele.
Oh, I'm already mad.
Honestly, not even surprised. I don't think anybody can really say they're surprised, because she was already labeled as like a diva. People saw her that way. First of all, Rachel Berry, who is her character on Glee, that's how Lea Michele came to fame, I think is actually very similar to Lea Michele. Like, I think their personalities are very similar, and that's why I think she was cast as that role. Like, I think that it's not that different. So to me, I was like, this isn't surprising, but it's still disappointing. So if you don't know what happened, Samantha Ware, who played Jane Hayward in the last season of Glee, which ran for 6 seasons, um, tweeted in response to Lea Michele. Well, first Lea Michele tweeted, George Floyd did not deserve this. This was on May 29th. This was not an isolated incident, and it must end. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Samantha Ware, who was her former co-star on Glee, tweeted back at Lea Michele in all caps, wrote, LMAO, remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. Because I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would shit in my wig, amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood.
Damn.
So she really unveiled some stuff about Lea Michele. And now Amber Riley, who was on all seasons of Glee, who played the character Mercedes, replied to that tweet. Or no, I think she tweeted on her own with a gif of somebody, I think it was Kermit, sipping his tea.
Ugh,
And
that's a
Yvette,
cosign.
that's what?
That's a cosign. She agrees.
Oh, for sure. And Yvette Nicole Brown, who was on The Mayor with Lea Michele, which was like a TV show she did after Glee. I think it only had one season or so. It was kind of a flop. But she tweeted back saying that she, quote, felt every one of those capital letters, end quote. And after that, there were just a bunch of accusations coming out, not just microaggressions, but also just Lea Michele being a straight up mean person. Like extras on set, her being really rude to them, and guest stars. And I think it's really interesting that for so long she was labeled as a diva, and in the end what that really meant is that she was racist and that, you know, she was a bad person, but she had the privilege of being labeled as a diva. I was telling Lydia, I feel like it's similar to the same way that when the Me Too movement came about, men who were labeled as, you know, a little problem or hard to work with, um, you then found out that it was because they sexually harassed and sexually assaulted women, or just also men, you know, people on set. I feel like that's a similar situation to the diva label. Like, in this situation, her being a diva seemed to be the excuse for all the ways she acted, which seems like she had a lot of incidents where she was pretty awful. So she gave out one of those screenshot apologies, which isn't even worth the time to read because it's like every other screenshot note apology put on Instagram.
I will grow from this.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, I'm going to be a mother in a couple months, and I
That's
hope, you
right.
know, like I'll grow from this and I can be a better mom. It's just, it's sad how unsurprising this particular person coming out as, you know, being racist is to me. And I think that she had such a big career in Hollywood that means that her actions were forgiven for so long, over and over, because she was so talented. Like, Lea Michele is undeniably talented. She has an incredible voice and she has a big personality, and it worked well for her characters. But that doesn't mean that it should forgive the way she treats other co-stars on set.
Exactly. And, you know, once is enough, but someone like her who has like multiple and multiple allegations that some of which we haven't even heard, like, it just makes your apology that much weaker because, like, you know, shame on, what's that phrase? Like, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. That,
Right.
like, the more and more things that she did, she's just showing you who she is. Like, this is her, you know? And
Right.
I'm not saying she can't change, but it's like, your apology isn't enough. Like, you got to do some work because clearly this is how you were. And like you said, which is a great point, she had so much covered up because she had such a long career and still does, you know, like she is a working successful actress and singer.
Right.
So that's really a shame. But yeah, this story in particular is not surprising at all. She seemed like a diva. So
Yeah.
this is just like the cherry on top. Like, of course she's a racist, of course.
And of course, like, if it had been one incident, it would have already been bad. But sometimes when these things happen, like, people who have worked with you will come out and say, you know, oh, I had a good experience working. Like, if Amber Riley, who worked with her from the start of Glee for 6 seasons, had come out in her defense, it could have been like still a racist incident, but it could have been, you know, there could have been other factors or something. I mean, it's never forgiven, but if somebody came to your defense who worked with you and said, you know, I never got that side, maybe it was just like a really shitty time in her life or something, still doesn't forgive it. But the fact that nobody who worked with her came out and said, like, well, I never saw her do these things and she was always really great with like my black friends or something. Everyone that was black has come out against her who has worked with her for a long time. It just goes to show that, like, this was truly a problem that is ingrained in her and who she is, and that, like you said, she has work to do.
Yep. So next on our list is Vanderpump Rules, which, if you don't know, is a show on Bravo. They're in like their 8th season now. That is all about these waiters and waitresses at this restaurant called Sir, which is owned by Lisa Vanderpump, who was a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills until she left and is now like just on Vanderpump Rules. Anyway, it's a fan favorite. There's a lot of like main stars on the show, 2 of which are named Stassi Schroeder and Kristen Doot. I don't know if it's Dute or Doot. I don't watch the show. But basically, they're in the news right now because they were both just fired, along with a couple other cast members that are like major staples of the show. Bravo fired them from Vanderpump Rules because of some racial actions, because of some racist actions they took that have now come to light. Basically, there's another girl on the show named Faith, and she's Black, and she tweeted about something that happened with Stassi and Kristen, and now it's just snowballed. So basically, on the show, Faith cheated with one of the guys that Stassi was talking to at the time, and there was all this drama. But what they didn't show on the show is that there was this Black woman in the area. The show takes place in LA. There was a Black woman that was wanted for these crimes of like drugging men and stealing their money. It was kind of like the Hustlers movie played out in real life. And basically the police were like looking for this woman, and Stassi and Kristen called the police saying that Faith did it. They basically framed her and like literally turned her in as the person that did these crimes. Obviously,
because she cheated with the boyfriend.
They were that mad and that petty and that dumb and that racist. That was their way of punishing her. So somehow this was covered up, and now it's come to light, and they were fired from the show, which is like a big deal because they are like the main stars of that show. But it's just like, also good job, Bravo, for taking a stand. No way, like there's no excusing anything about this. They've admitted that they did this. Like there's like, they did it. So the other two, there was two guys, Max and Brett, that were also fired. So of course, like everybody else, Stassi made a statement that to me was only problematic. I'm not going to read it, but part of it was really problematic to me. This happened in 2018, so 2 years ago. And she had the nerve to say, racially insensitive comments from my past have resurfaced. I'm like, these aren't just comments. Like, I know
these are actions.
Yeah. And I know she's going to, like, try and make it sound better than it is, obviously, because she's on the defense. But, like, can you believe, like, she literally, to me, this is, like, one of the worst things these people have done. Like, you're jeopardizing someone's livelihood and their life. It's like her crime doesn't match the punishment. Like, what Faith did is not on the same level of what they're doing. It's kind of like, to me, it's like Amy Cooper-esque of like.
It is.
Yeah.
It's using that threat. It's like I'm going to call the cops on you because you are a Black person, and I know that this could potentially ruin your entire life. Like, they could kill you, or they could take you to jail or send you to prison for life for something that you didn't do.
And they didn't even just think like, oh my God, that would be funny. They took the time to call the police to frame her, knowing that she had nothing to do with that. It's like, ugh. So to me, I'm like, is that technically a criminal act in itself? Because they knew it wasn't her, regardless of their ill feelings and ill intent. Like, it's like,
I'm pretty sure that is.
Like, they're lying to the police about it. That's what they did.
I think there's a crime that is under that category where it's like you're not, like, you can get in trouble for calling in a false, like an accusation is false.
Well, yeah, so that is like crazy to me, and I just couldn't. When I first read that, I was like, are you kidding me? And she did her normal thing of those statements, like, I'm going to take the time to look closer at myself and my actions, to listen, to learn, and take accountability for my own privilege. Like, this isn't even like privilege. This is just like an evil act they did,
An
like,
evil racist act. Like,
yeah.
I can't believe that they were so ignorant that they wouldn't have thought about the repercussions of their act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that they were unaware of what the possible repercussions of that could have been. besides like her like sending the police over, like the fact that she was a Black woman and they were sending the police.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So,
just so fucked up.
right, exactly.
Vanderpump Rules, more like Vanderpump sucks.
Burn. Good one. Yeah, no. I mean, they're not on it. I was gonna say don't watch the show anymore, like, but they won't be on it anyway. But it's like just don't even like. I didn't watch it before. I of course had heard about it, and it was a popular show. But like, I almost wonder like, should it go further into the show being canceled? Because people knew about. I'm sure like the castmates, other castmates, I feel like would have known about it at the time, and they covered it up because the show continued. This was 2018, but I don't know. I just disgusting. It's a shame.
So KJ Appa, who is a star on the CW show Riverdale, which I think that started only like 2 or 3 years ago. So he is blown up very quickly. He's an Australian actor, but now he lives in the US, and he's done a lot of other movies, which recently one of the movies he did and starred in was called The Hate You Give, which is based on a book which has had a lot of acclaim, and has been featured in a lot of reading lists for people to read about being actively anti-racist and learning what the Black experience is in this country. It's been a highly recommended book. So recently, and he was one of the main characters in that movie. And recently he's been getting a lot of flack because besides posting a black square on Blackout Tuesday, he has stayed completely silent on the topic. And people have been corralling him saying, listen, you were in this movie, you probably support its message. We're assuming, why have you stayed so silent on this issue, on everything that's going on? In response to all of these messages he got, he tweeted, I don't need to post about my opinions and beliefs in order for them to be real to me. I support Black lives, but I don't feel it's necessary to prove to people I do by posting my attendance at these protests. So, Lydia, I kind of wanted to know what your thoughts on that were, because it's a very confusing tweet, because it seems as though he's insinuating that he is going to the protests, but that he doesn't want to post his attendance on social media or participate on social media. But because he hasn't been posting on social media, there is no way to verify that he has been going to the protests. And he says, I support Black lives, but I don't feel it's necessary to like do anything about it on his platform, which is weird because like he's saying he supports them, but he doesn't want to use his privileged platform to support them. I don't know. How do you feel about it? I feel like it was a very tone deaf tweet. I'm not going to come out and say that, he's racist. It just seems like he's tone deaf and maybe not aware of why his tweet sounded so tone deaf and why it seemed like he was ignoring his privilege. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it was tone deaf. I think that whether they like it or not, celebrities with a platform have to use it to their advantage and for good. And to me, like, how do you support something without like acting on it? Like, I know you can verbally say you support something and be in favor of something and like not take action, but at the same time, it's like, in this particular case, you can't, like, you got to back up your words with your actions. So it's hard because I understand if he doesn't want to post necessarily, like, that whole thing we were talking about with it being performative and like, right. Even though I may not personally agree with that, I guess I can understand it. But I think he's just got to be, less tone deaf and just, I don't think there's anything negative that can come from him showing what he's doing, as long as he's not, making it a vlog or like making it look like it's like for views and like an event, like, look what we're doing today, So So yeah, I agree. I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, he's a racist, but I think he needs to like do something and be vocal about it.
You know what I want to liken this to?
Hmm.
But it might not be like it's not the same situation, but I remember when Todrick Hall, do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift, before she came out and started becoming political, which I think she did like just last year.
Mm-hmm.
She did so because one of her best friends, Todrick Hall, who is a gay black man, didn't know whether she supported gay marriage or not. And he asked her one day after years of their friendship, and he was like, "Are you cool with like who I am and what I want and like my identity?" And in that moment, she realized that if he couldn't understand as her best friend that she was supportive of that, how were any of her followers going to know that she was in support of that and that that was part of who she was? And I feel like it's a similar situation here. It's like, okay, yes, like you can be in support of Black Lives Matter, but if you have the people who are giving you your career and giving you your platform questioning whether you support them being alive and you want to help protect them, then there is an issue at hand.
I so agree. Yep, and that's a great example. Exactly. I think it's just it goes back to like you just with there's no more room for being silent. Like I feel like that's just what it is, and
Yeah.
he hopefully will speak up and use his platform. Like I don't know, celebrities out here. Like I know they don't all want to be role models or whatever, but it's just you gotta realize like you are a successful person in a place of power and in a spotlight, and that comes with a platform whether you like it or not,
Right.
and just use it. Like if anything you're using it for good, so I don't know why it's just this big burden to bear and this big
Right.
responsibility. Like no, come on, KJ, please speak up. We welcome you, we love you for it.
Right. You were
Like
in a great movie
you are a great
about this topic, so
that.
follow up like your character. Your if your character would be tweeting and he was a good guy, then follow his lead and you tweet.
Yep, let
KJ.
life imitate art. How about that?
Thank you.
Tea. Okay. Now we going up to Canada because this shit doesn't just stay in America, of
No.
course. No.
Nope.
We got celebrity, we got Canadian celebrity Jessica Mulroney. Okay. She might be known for her show I Do Redo, which is a wedding show. She's a stylist, basically. She's a TV personality and she's a stylist, and she has this wedding show that has now been canceled, which you'll know why in a second. Um, she's also known for being Meghan Markle's best friend, or one of Meghan Markle's best friends. She was in the royal wedding. Well, no, I'm sorry, she wasn't in it. Her kids were in the wedding. She has twin boys and a daughter, and they were all like little part of kids in the wedding with little
Right.
petals or whatever. I don't know what they call it in Britain, but um, yeah. So she is famous, especially in Canada, and her husband actually is the son of a former prime minister. So like they have money, they're famous, all this thing. But Jessica,
Lydia, what did Jessica do?
so Jessica is out here thinking everything's about her, having her white privilege self. Go on Instagram and watch this 11-minute video of this Black fashion blogger, Sasha Exeter. So Sasha basically posted this long video talking about how people that are silent on Instagram that have platforms need to speak up and talk more about what's going on and how they can help. And Jessica took this personally, started DMing Sasha all this stuff, talking about like, why are you coming for me, blah, blah, blah. When Sasha's like, whoa, this is not, I wasn't just talking about you.
Right.
But there's like a lot of rumors from insiders that Jessica is really insecure in terms of how she comes across as her own little TV personality or whatever in Canada, wherever. But basically, it all came to a head when at like 2 a.m, Jessica DM'd Sasha and basically threatened to sue her for libel and said, good luck. And basically, what she means by that, what the message that comes from that is that she's trying to basically like ruin Sasha's livelihood off of things that she feels like Sasha is saying about Jessica, which it literally never was about her to begin with, but she made it about her and made it this thing. And people freaked out because it's like, Jessica has a lot of privilege and she knows that, and she's using that white privilege to possibly take down this single Black mother and ruin her livelihood, which is social media influencing basically. But so it didn't come across right, and what she said just did not sit well, nor should it, with anyone.
Right.
And so basically right now Jessica's being quote unquote canceled. She has a lot of sponsorships and deals with people like Good Morning America. She goes on there a lot and does style segments. Canceled. She's no longer allowed on the show ever. Her show that I mentioned before, I Do Redo, was canceled. There's rumors that she and Meghan Markle are having issues, and Meghan kind of has canceled her out of her life.
I would understand that.
Not for nothing, I would think Meghan would have to do that publicly at least, It's just to show she's not supporting Jessica. But then I was reading an article that said their relationship has been really rocky for a while, but they were tight. Like when Harry and Meghan were going through all that, like Megxit, they called it, like when they were leaving the royal family.
Megxit, that's so funny. I've never heard that.
Oh yeah.
No.
Basically, Meghan and Harry got a house in Canada at one point when they were leaving England, and when they would ever go back to finish up whatever royal duties they have, Archie, their baby, would stay with Jessica and her family, and like she would watch the baby. So they were tight.
So they were close.
Yeah. So she's basically going through it. And the tea is, someone else some blogger wrote an op-ed about her, about Jessica, and said that there are a lot of people in Canadian media with their own Jessica Mulroney stories, and some of them are thinking of telling them now after Sasha opened the door. So more stuff could come to light. Either way, it's like she needs to go. She's problematic, but it's like her husband is so powerful. I think he's a journalist, but like I said, like he's the son of a prior prime minister. And Jessica, has her own platform and her own reach. So I don't take pride.
She's got some stuff she needs to go work on.
Yeah, again, another person who's got some stuff to work on.
She can watch the movie that KJ Appa was in, The Hate You Give, to start working on it.
Exactly. So stay tuned for how her career unfolds, because she's got some work to do, like you said. So let's go on to some other controversies that aren't necessarily like specific people, but some tea that's happening. First, there's been a major announcement today, Wednesday, June 17th, about the syrup Aunt Jemima. What's going on with that?
They're changing the name.
That's major.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a long time coming. So basically PepsiCo, who owns Aunt Jemima, the whole brand, they announced today that they're changing the name. I don't know what to, but they're going to change the name and the logo on the bottle.
It's about time.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, PepsiCo. It's sad that it had to be now, but at least it's happening. Yeah. And this wouldn't have happened, I'd like to say, if there people weren't out there protesting. So thank you, protesters. Thank you, everyone who's doing something for this movement, because like real change is happening. It's happening very slowly, and it's not everything that we are asking for. That's why we have to keep going for it. But stuff like this, little stuff like this, which isn't that little, like it's gonna add up, and it slowly, as a society, we're gonna hopefully start to change. Hopefully.
Exactly. And like you said, it's like the more we talk, the more things get changed. It's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's so true. And what else? Okay, so this is like a very big local controversy that's happening right now, at least here in Baltimore. My actual high school and then another high school nearby they're having their own issues with their racist past. So basically my high school and the other high school, which is called Loyola Blakefield is what it's called. Loyola Blakefield and McDonough. These two schools are filled with some issues of their past, including their founders. So McDonough's founder was known, he was a slave owner and slaves helped build the school. And he basically was a rich guy that passed away, and in his will left money for a school for orphan boys to be made in Maryland. But then also he created a bunch of public schools that are like numbered, like McDonough 1, McDonough 2, McDonough 3 in New Orleans, in Louisiana.
Gotcha.
So I think last weekend in Louisiana, so John McDonough is buried in New Orleans, and he has a statue there that was actually taken down and thrown into the river. I don't know what river, but was basically like it was all over the news. And now there are calls for the name of the school to change, because people feel like the name acknowledges like the past. And then at Loyola Blakefield, the Blakefield part of the name is being petitioned to change, because there's this family called, their last name was Blake, that actually at one point in time had a contract with the school to, in exchange for giving land to build the school or like add on to the school, no black boys. It's a black school. I mean, sorry. It's a school for boys. It's not co-ed.
It's all boys.
Yeah. But they actually, in exchange for the land, said no black boys could be admitted to the school. And this was like, I think 1950 something to 1970 something. Like, right, it's integrated now. Like it's
right.
But yeah, so that's what's going on in Maryland. And I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, especially on social media, like specifically with McDonough. The McDonough Instagram page has had a lot of recent fights between alumni, people of color, and some white alumni. It's kind of going off. And I don't know how any of this is going to play out, but it's, yeah.
How do you feel? Do you think the name should change?
I really like, I guess the pessimist in me doesn't see that ever happening.
Right.
I think that at the very least, maybe like a building could be named after one of the first black boys to attend McDonough, maybe would be a good start. I think I feel a little more strongly about Loyola taking the Blakefield off their name, because they explicitly said, like, had a time where no black boys were admitted.
Right.
But with McDonough, like, my dad went there as well, and he was the third African American to not get in, but to graduate, I believe.
Wow, that's yeah. Crazy.
And he graduated in 1973. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So at least they need to commemorate them in some way. And they, even when I was still in high school, they talked about how they were gonna the art department was going to create like a slave memorial on campus, and that was just like never talked about again. It was like announced and then nothing ever happened with it. And McDonough, it's like, I loved my time there, and it could be way more diverse. Obviously they have plenty of work to do in the diversity department, but like, I was never personally targeted in any way racially, but there was plenty of microaggressions, of course, all the time. You know, boys talking about you're pretty for a black girl. It's like you heard it all the time, stuff like that, stupid things. But there's definitely, I've noticed through looking online, there's a lot of alumni that are much older than me that feel very strongly about changing the name and doing more, which I think is good, because people have brought up a good point about following the money. Like, we need to look at who donates to the school, because those people have a lot of influence over what gets done. And McDonough is the school that is very heavily reliant on their donations, and there's a lot of very powerful, rich alumni that do donate to the school and do have a say in what happens. And so I think that might be a way to go about it, to maybe make some changes, like go through those people. But I don't know, it definitely hits close to home, but it's like
I feel like it's hard to go to a school every day knowing its roots and knowing that where it came from was a place that wouldn't want you, you know? I mean, I don't think it's something I'll ever be able to fully understand, but I can only imagine how hard it was for your dad being like one of the first Black people to enter that school, which obviously had developed its own like white bubble, and how hard it must have been to go through that, and probably all the fucked up shit that was said to him. So I think it's something that a lot of people need to think about, and it goes along with the Confederate statues and the Confederate flags and all this stuff. It's like we don't need to commemorate these people who did horrible things. We don't need to name buildings after them. That might have happened until now, but why does this man still need a building? He's not alive anymore, and he owned slaves.
right.
Change it.
It's hard because I think that for me it's like consistency is a big thing. So I feel like, you know, if you're going to take down this statue, then you have to take down this statue. And it's like
Right.
the White House was built by slaves. So it's like,
True.
do you tear that down and create a new, you know, like it's so complex and such a large issue that touches like everywhere in this country. It's just like, what do you know, like what is realistically going to be done? So I don't know. It's a big, it's you know, it's a big topic right now. We all are hearing about it. So yeah.
TBD, I guess, what happens with the schools.
Yeah. Okay. We also got to touch on the NFL because obviously you, Margot, have a specific complaint that you want to mention.
I'm from DC.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about name changing. Redskins.
Oh.
In case you didn't know, I think, you know, if you grow up in the DMV, you're told it because that name is just so racist and gross. But a redskin was when white men on the frontier would kill a Native American and they would scalp their heads, and the inside, it was called a redskin because the inside of the scalp was red, and they took that back as like their prize.
Ugh.
So first of all, gruesome and disgusting. Second of all, I don't know if you've seen the merch sold, but it's just like a Native American chief put on. I mean, it's just like a stereotype that is being sold and making so much money, and it's like it doesn't need to be called the Redskins. There is no, it has nothing to do with Washington D.C. You know, like call it, like we have the Nationals, and then we have the Capitals, and we have the Wizards.
Right.
I don't know what the Wizards have to do with, like, I don't know what that name has to do with DC, but it's fun. It's a wizard. Woo, wizard. And then you have Redskin. Like, it's not needed. It's so outdated. It's so offensive. Get rid of it. Nobody wants it, and you can come up with a better name. Redskins isn't even like it's offensive. It's not even a good name.
Mm-mm.
Like Ravens is so much cooler.
Ravens, caw. No, it is, and it's just like I can't believe the Redskins, like that name. It's a shame. Like I can't believe that has even lasted all these years. Like it's so blatantly racist and so wrong. Like it.
And it's like every time their logo comes up when they're playing a game, you know, it's like this like I can't even imagine being Native American and watching that.
Right. Yeah, I would love to hear the perspective of a Native American person on that. No, yeah, I'm with you. Change the name. Talk
Get
about
rid of it.
real changes being done. That's one. Like do that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Toss it.
Well, that's something that Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, could speak on and do something about. Just like recently, which is a good thing. So let's keep on this good track that he's on. He said that he would be in favor of an NFL team signing Colin Kaepernick, and that he welcomes Colin Kaepernick's voice on all these movements, issues, and that he supports and that he supports a team making that decision to bring Colin Kaepernick back. So, I'm glad he said that. Now he needs to maybe push these teams to a little harder, maybe follow up on that. But, I feel like Colin Kaepernick is out here like, I told all y'all. Like, and I don't know where he got the idea to kneel, but I guess kneeling is the opposite of standing. But just that dichotomy of like him kneeling and then the George Floyd video, it's like, I hope he's somewhere told all y'all, because like what's a worst form of what's more un-American now, because so many people that were anti-Kaepernick were talking about how kneeling is the most un-American thing you can do during the anthem and all that. And it's like, well, what about what Derek Chauvin did and those other cops,
What if you're wearing a badge that is supposed to protect this country and you're kneeling then? I just also I never I wasn't following sports at the time that happened, so I was only hearing about it through different news outlets and stuff, but I was just like, how can you get literally banned from a sport you have played your entire life, not because you're not good enough to make the team, not because nobody wanted you, but because you chose to kneel during the national anthem? Like, I don't. What about somebody who chewed gum during the national anthem? Like, are they gonna get tossed out? Like, what are we considering offensive here? Like, he was kneeling because this country is so racist, and he was like, I'm not gonna stand for the flag when black men are out here being killed. And then the NFL was like, bye.
Right. And look at him now. Like, he was right about everything, and he's just so validated in his action, and I just hope. Shout out to Colin,
Shout out to Colin. Part of me hopes he doesn't even come back to be like, screw you, but also like, I feel like he should play. He should start his own team that is all black and wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. Part of me too is like, don't even come back and just do your own thing and keep with this movement, because you're such a powerful voice in it.
Yeah.
And that's why I love that Nike ad he did, I think last year, that Nike did with him. I love it. I love him.
Colin Kaepernick.
I think our main takeaway of this episode is that there's so much more work to be done, but we're continuing to talk about it. So
just keep with it, keep talking about it, keep doing the work. We took a lighthearted approach, more lighthearted today. But obviously celebrities aren't the only people who need to do work. I know I have so much work to do, and so do the people around me, and so do the people around you, listeners. So let's just keep going. And I think that to close this off, we're going to tell you guys some inspirational quotes.
We do. Mine is very just on brand with what you said. It's unknown, but it was given to me in the form of advice when I graduated, but I think it so applies to this movement. And it says, take one step at a time and try to make sure it's forward.
That's great.
What do you have for us?
Mine is by Thomas Paine. We have it in our power to begin the world over again. We're creating a new world.
Yeah, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It takes time, but as long as we're committed and we all stay committed and stay with the mindset that we're all working toward equality and just basic human rights, I think we will see a better tomorrow. And again, don't forget to go to the links that are here and look at different ways you can help. And, that's just a few of many. So keep educating yourself, keep listening, keep reflecting, keep doing all of that. And of course, speak your mind as well.
And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.